In 1907, a man came to Kansas City who would forever alter his cultural identity. His name was Henry Perry, and he brought with him the secrets to delicious smoked meats. The self-proclaimed BBQ King built up several restaurants and notable disciples, and the city's love for barbecue was born. While you can debate all day what area of the country is the best barbecue, there's no denying that Kansas City has a lot of spots smoking a lot of meats. But today, I'm not here to talk about ribs or pork or chicken. I'm here to try Kansas City's signature dish, the burnt end. Tender meat marshmallows with a charred crust that is specific to the city that dreamt them up. Now, anytime you start talking barbecue in this city, you're guaranteed to make people very angry. And there's no way I can try every single place here in one day. But I'll do my best to hit some icons and some new school favorites. So let's get into it.
The burnt ends. You guys know what burnt ends are?
Yeah.
They're like fucking protein candies, man. Things are fucking, you could just keep popping those things in, dude.
So here's exactly what I'm looking for. Burnt ends are flavorful chunks of meat characterized by their tender, juicy interior and a caramelized, almost bark-like exterior. For the sauce, I'm looking for a thick, sweet sauce, preferably with a little bit of heat. However, we're only going to be judging on each place's standard sauce. So unfortunately, no sweet heat from Bryant and no Night of the Living sauce from Joe's. We've got 11 hours on the clock, and we're going to be trying to hit as many places as possible around the city.
All right, first stop of the day. It's 10 a.m., I'm already sweating, and we're in a parking lot getting some barbecue for some drive-thru.
Apparently, they weren't ready to open when they said they would be, and even then it was drive-thru only for a while. We weren't the only ones confused by this, as there was a lot of people waiting around at 10 a.m. to get some barbecue. Big T's, we gave a combined score of 2 for tenderness, 3 for char, and 1.5 for sauce.
Well, first stop of the day, not too bad. Definitely gets a big bump for me being very hungry. I would say sauce, pretty solid. The char itself, really good. The meat itself, a bit chewy. There was more like strips than chunks, so maybe not the best, but pretty solid way to start the day. If it's only up from here, then we're gonna have a really good day.
This right here is some of the best barbecue sauce in Kansas City, which makes it some of the best barbecue sauce in the world. Woo!
We're here at the original. When Henry Perry died, one of his restaurants passed to his employees, Charlie and Arthur Bryant. And after a few years, Charlie retired. Arthur changed the name and the sauce. Staying at this location since 1946, just down the street from the old municipal ballpark, Arthur Bryant's is the restaurant that invented burnt ends. Originally given away for free, this delicacy has turned into one of the most in-demand menu items at here and around Kansas City. Now, of course, when the demand grew, the actual burnt ends that were just scraps were not enough to meet demand. So most places usually just chop up brisket and smoke them themselves. Now, there is a rumor that if you get the 3B sandwich here, that you get the burnt ends like they used to make. We're gonna get both, and we'll let you know.
Now, I do have a soft spot for this place because in my mind, it's a living museum. Its walls are filled with pictures of politicians and celebrities eating here. Allegedly, Harry Truman used to play cards in the back with Mr. Bryant himself, and Calvin Trillin called it the single best restaurant in the world. As for the beef, although I definitely can't confirm that they use the legit ones on the 3B sandwich, just comparing these two side by side, these are definitely two different types of meat. The order of burnt ends was definitely the weaker of the two, as it wasn't super tender and there was basically no char or smoky flavor. However, the burnt ends on the 3B sandwich were the opposite. Crazy tender, fantastic char with a ton of smoky flavor. It's definitely a little bit fatty, but that doesn't mean it wasn't incredibly tender. Now, Bryant sauce is a little more controversial than Ted Lasso makes it sound, and it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm definitely a fan. It's very thick, and even if it's not super sweet, it's very unique. The plate of burnt ends, we gave it a score of 3 for tenderness, 3 for char, and 3 for sauce. However, for the burnt end on the 3B sandwich, it got a 5 for tenderness, a 4.5 for char, and once again a 3 for the sauce. Is it unfair to give one place 2 entries on this list? Probably, but when you're literally the inventor of the food, I'm gonna let it slide.
I love Kansas City.
What do
I'm
you
a
do?
Kansas
What's the
girl.
number one thing you do when you get there?
Barbecue.
Barbecue.
I'm
Where do
going
you
to
go? Where's the best spot?
Gates Barbecue.
Henry Perry had another famous disciple, Arthur Pinkard. And when Ollie Gates bought the building that he worked in, he became the head chef for Gates Barbecue, the other titan just down the street from Arthur Bryant's. Now, they have a long-standing rivalry between the two, going so far to not serving burnt ends for a long time. When asked about it, Ollie Gates responded, "We don't burn our food here." And while Gates isn't as world famous as Arthur Bryant, not appearing in Ted Lasso, that doesn't mean it's not popular here. Now let me ask you this, does your favorite place have a Tech 9 song about it? I didn't think so.
Now, the one thing everybody in Kansas City knows about Gates is that when you step up to the counter, you got to order with confidence. Looking at the meat, this is definitely different than every other thing we're going to be getting on this list. It's almost a pulled burnt end sandwich, which definitely isn't a bad thing, and speaks to how tender Gates makes their meat here. Gates gets a score of 4 for tenderness, 3 for char, and 4.5 for sauce.
Well, Gates is a legend for a reason. Obviously they do it a little different here, chopping up the burnt end, so it's a little hard to compare apples to apples here. But in terms of sauce, Gates sauce is iconic for a reason. It's pretty much what you think of when you think Kansas City barbecue, and it's pretty dang good. It's hard to compete with. In terms of char, I would say average, hard to compete when it's chopped up. Tenderness, pretty dang tender. Obviously it's different, but that was pretty flavorful and about as tender as you can get for being diced up like that. I would say that was pretty dang tasty. We're here at Q39, another new school favorite that has quickly burst onto the Kansas City scene. While some people think it's a little bit too fancy in regards to barbecue's roots, it has taken the masses by storm and has quickly become a lot of people's favorite barbecue in Kansas City.
One thing that's great about barbecue places, especially in Kansas City, is there's so much range in the type of places. This one and Jack Stack are white cloth affairs, while Arthur Bryant's and Gates are cafeteria style, and everywhere in between. These burnt ends are really the prototype of what you're looking for. We gave Q39 a score of 5 for tenderness, 4 for char, and 3.5 for sauce.
Whew, not gonna lie, starting to feel all of this barbecue. A little bit of some tiredness coming in. That being said, that was pretty dang tasty. The meat, possibly the most tender we've had so far today. Pretty good char. Sauce, just kind of okay, a little light. Probably like a little thicker sauce, but overall, some really solid burnt ends. All right, we're here at Jack Stack, the last of the so-called Big Four, joining Gates, Arthur Bryant's, and Joe's. Jack Stack is the original upscale barbecue, and we're here to see if it lives up to the hype.
Now, if I thought the last place was a little ritzy, Jack Stack is the original elevated barbecue experience. And while my wallet may not be pleased, my taste buds definitely aren't complaining. Jack Stack gets a 3.5 on tenderness and a 4 for both char and sauce.
And pretty solid burnt ends. I would say not exceedingly amazing, but really solid across the board in terms of tenderness, sauce, and char. I feel like really solid, not spectacular, but definitely better than average.
A few moments later.
As you can probably tell, today's a different day. A couple of places were unexpectedly closed the first time we tried to do this. A couple of places that, if we didn't hit them, it would call the validity of the entire video into question. So we hit the places we could and decided to come back another day to finish the mission. We're back, got 6 places left, about 6 hours left on the clock. And I will say, my stomach felt pretty bad after the first day, so I'm not gonna be too mad about splitting it into 2. Probably better for my health, and I really wouldn't recommend anyone else do this. That being said, let's go get some more barbecue. Well, it's 10 a.m. and we're here to eat some barbecue. We're here at the only place that I know that does brunch and barbecue. And while it's definitely one of the newer spots, that doesn't mean they don't know how to make some good burnt ends.
This place would definitely be a great spot to come in the summer and hang out outside, watch a Royals game, and drink a Boulevard. These burnt ends are so big, it is hard to call them the same type of food as some of the other entries on this list, but it was still very, very good. A little disappointed that this was all I got for almost $30. Money aside, this was a very solid entry, netting a 4.5 on tenderness, a 4 for char, and a 3.5 on sauce.
Once again, that is a fantastic way to start the day, especially at 10 a.m. Possibly the biggest burnt ends I've seen in my life. A very good char. I think the only maybe weak spot was the sauce. A little too loose for my taste, but still very, very good. And where else can you get a burnt end at Eggs Benedict? That's pretty good in my book. Here at another legendary spot, LC's, a staple for almost 40 years, and a classic for people coming to and from Kaufman and Arrowhead. They've been slinging up burnt ends here for a very long time, and this is known as one of the best under-the-radar spots in Kansas City. So let's go try it out.
This is a legendary spot around Kansas City, but with any of these old school spots, its biggest problem is consistency. And unfortunately, this was not the best they have to offer. LC's gets 2 for tenderness and a 3.5 for both char and sauce. Made sure to try a lot of different pieces, as some of these were more ribbons than chunks like a traditional burnt end. Obviously just caught it on a rough day, and I'm sure if I came back another day it would be better, but unfortunately this was pretty disappointing, especially for a place that puts best burnt ends in Kansas City on their business cards.
All right, next stop is here in Columbus Park at Wolfepack Barbecue. The newest spot on our list started as a pop-up and has quickly become one of the hottest barbecue spots in town. They rumoredly have a very good burnt end, and we're here to put that to the test. Let's do it.
Very, very cool on the inside. I especially love seeing Henry Perry get recognition. Again, it's impossible to know how any of these places make their burnt ends just from a consumer perspective, but it is a promising sign that this place only does beef burnt ends on the weekends. That being said, with this being the 9th burnt end place we've been to, and all of them being good to great, it's impressive to see one really stand out. A great score for Wolfepack with 5s for both tenderness and char and a 4 for the sauce.
Honestly, it's really nice when you hear so much about a place and it lives up to the expectations. That was absolutely fantastic. I feel like that was the best char we've had. You could taste the smoke with every bite. Still buttery tender, like fall apart in your mouth, and a very good sauce. Still a little thin for my taste, but it was very sweet, had a little bit of spice, and that was overall a fantastic experience. That's gonna be hard to beat. All right, next we're at Slaps here in Strawberry Hill. Another newer entry to the scene. Slaps has quickly become a cult favorite and really established itself in the very crowded Kansas City market. Slaps is pretty good and known for their burnt ends, so we're here to once again put that to the test.
The first place with a lion out front. A common tale of a competition barbecue team that was so successful they decided to open their own brick and mortar. I will give credit for them being the only place to offer a 1/4 of a pound of burnt ends, which is great when you can barely eat any more food. Slaps gets a 3.5 on tenderness, a 2 for char, and a 3 for sauce.
That was pretty solid. Honestly, I feel like that'll definitely finish towards the upper half of this list. In terms of just the places we've been today, it's a little bit lower. It had great tenderness. The char wasn't really there. Some of the flavoring, the smoky flavor wasn't there as much as I would have thought. And the sauce was good, but maybe not amazing. Overall, a very solid entry.
What makes the Z-Man sandwich from Joe's KC the best sandwich in the world?
It's the right ratio of brisket. They put provolone cheese on it.
It's good cheese.
With onion rings and original Joe's sauce. It's incredible. And just the combination of that with the seasoned fries, maybe a Tank 7 on the side, and you got yourself that's a perfect meal.
Again, the best barbecue spot, my favorite barbecue spot in Kansas City
Joe's.
is Joe's. Like, there's something about food being served at a gas station that just is like, yeah, I'm gonna check this out.
Well, definitely not as old as some of the more legendary spots like Gates or Arthur Bryant's. Kansas City Joe's has quickly become in that tier of legendary barbecue spots here in Kansas City. And while burnt ends aren't really the thing they're famous for, that's the Z-Man, it is the probably most popular spot in Kansas City. The favorite place of Paul Rudd and Jason Kelsey alike. We're here to get some burnt ends, and let's try it.
Definitely don't let the lines scare you. All of their locations have them, and they're always fast moving. Also, Joe's is possibly the most consistent with their quality across multiple locations, which is beyond impressive for barbecue. Another place that has a limited number of burnt ends and you aren't guaranteed to get them. Though that being said, it was pretty late in the day for a place that has a line from open to close, so it was nice to see that there was plenty there. Probably the smallest burnt ends we saw today, but still scored very well with 4s across the board.
And that's it. While Joe's may not be known for their burnt ends, that doesn't mean that they weren't still fantastic. And definitely smaller than some of the monster burnt ends we've had today. They were very tender. The sauce is one of the best, if not the best, in Kansas City. And their char was really good. That was a fantastic note to end on, and honestly, just a fantastic burnt end. And just like that, we're over. 10 places, 11 burnt ends, a lot of stomach aches. And before we reveal the top 3, I just once again want to say that we are very spoiled here in Kansas City. Every single place we went to over these past 2 days, I would go to again. And just because they're lower on my list or didn't make the top 3, didn't mean they were a bad time. We are very spoiled with an abundance of great barbecue here in Kansas City. And I know there's probably a lot of places you can think of that didn't make the list. I can think of 10 right now that we could go to if we did it again. And you know, maybe if this video does well, maybe we will. Maybe not. And out of the top 3, in the number 3 spot, Q39. In number 2, the 3B sandwich from Arthur Bryant. And the best burnt end in Kansas City, according to me, is Wolfepack barbecue. Honestly, it's pretty hard to say that it was anything other than a perfect burnt end. It had fantastic flavor, fantastic smokiness, melt in your mouth tenderness, and a really, really fantastic sauce. I'd heard a lot of things about Wolfepack, but it was exciting to see it live up to the hype. But what do you think? Where's your favorite barbecue spot in Kansas City? And where's your favorite place to get burnt ends? Let me know, and we'll check it out next time.
Purple Hippo Cinema, Purple Hippo Cinema.